Start with a dream and share it with some friends. The idea deepens and grows. The dream takes shape, it has form and substance. A community soon arose. A listening room, the hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express yourself and have your say. The walls are thin, sirens blare, the tables sit near folding chairs, the stage is set with paint and glue, and love went into every screw. The light shine bright on every star, they come to play from near and far. The light shine bright on every star, they come to play from near and far. A listening room, the hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express yourself and have your say. Hearing room, a listening room, you're welcome here, so have no fear. The hearing room, come in, my friend, where art can bloom.
And welcome to the Woodshed Podcast. I'm Aaron Tornberg, and I'm here tonight with Tom Smith. How are you doing tonight, Tom?
I'm doing very well, thanks, Aaron. Thanks for inviting me.
No problem, and we'll talk more. But first, I wanted to do a little bit of information about the hearing room. We are currently closed because of the coronavirus. So I can announce all of the events we normally have, but we're not sure when these will continue. But let me give you a rundown of the types of things you want to come to once we reopen. We have the podcast, which is still going on regularly. So we are going to have the podcast here since it's only one person and myself. It's a pretty low risk. So we are going to have the podcast every Monday night, and that's at 7 o'clock. And we also have recorded ones that are going to be on Thursdays, 7 o'clock, as always. We also may be doing some additional stuff with people who want to do CD release concerts like we did last night with Ann Sandstrom. So there is the possibility that we can provide an outlet for some of you. And if you want more information about that, just contact the hearing room or myself, and we can make that happen probably on the podcast. So when we do have stuff continuing, we have the Blues Jam the second Monday of the month normally, and we have the open mic on Tuesdays, 7 to 10 every week. We have the Let's Have Words, the spoken word open mic. That is 7 to 10 every week on Wednesday. Then we have the Thursday Singin' Jam with Mark Allio. That's 7 to 10 p.m. every Thursday once we reopen. We also have weekly things going on Fridays and Saturdays. They vary, and so the best thing is look at the internet at hearingroom.net. You can check out the schedule. And we also have Sundays every week, the Drum Circle, 12:30 to 1:30, and the open mic, which I run 2 to 5. Lately, we've been having some evening stuff on Sunday as well, so that's always fun. And we will hopefully be back up and running as soon as possible. I'm sure we're all hoping for that soon. So the other thing I want to mention is, even though we're all sitting at home, we want to thank the Greenville Junction Shop and maybe shop there. They have a Facebook page. They're on Marketplace. And what they are is an upcycling shop. They have all kinds of stuff that is available, that is used items, but they've been refurbished and fully cleaned, and they're I'm sure, wiped down with alcohol wipes, so they're safe. And there's all kinds of stuff they have available. There's furniture, there's electronics, there's household appliances, and you can go check it out. It's on Facebook Marketplace. They list each item. They can sell it, and you can pick it up at Greenville, New Hampshire. It's called Greenville, Greenville, Junction, Junktion, Shoppe, Shoppe. The Shoppe is actually going to be a physical store soon, probably in a couple months, but we will tell you more about that as that comes up. But they have been supporting the show, and they're a great place to go in any case, and you can also get garage clean out and estate clean out from them. That is extremely helpful as far as I'm concerned, because I don't get rid of things very easily. So they can help you with that. So, Tom, tonight we get to hear you do your stuff. And first, I wanted to ask you where you're from.
Well, thanks very much, Aaron. Before I get into that, I'm really impressed with all the things that you have going on here at the Hearing Room. It seems like there's activity all of the time. It's great. Whenever I've come up here, it's been wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah, and you come up here a lot, I know, and you've played here before, and
it's great. So where am I from? I'm from. I grew up in Pennsylvania, in northeastern Pennsylvania, in the anthracite region. It's sort of my early life was split between the anthracite region and Scranton, and then living outside of Scranton in a rural area. And I grew up pretty isolated from it was the old days. It was in the 50s, and so there wasn't, all we had really was radio and some TV, and there was no internet, of course. My family, especially my Aunt Carrie, taught me a lot about music and gave me a ukulele when I was 5 years old, and that started me on this kind of journey of self-made music. And you did clue me in, Aaron, that you're going to ask that question. So
yes,
I was thinking maybe tonight I would do a couple of songs that I don't usually do, and this one kind of answers that question of where I am from. A little fictitious because I kind of invented the fact that comparing where I was from to New York City stockbroker, which I was not. Anyway, how did I wind up here in New York City? Pounding on the concrete with my feet. I guess I thought that this was what I wanted. The fast life, the busy city streets. My Pennsylvania heart beats like a coal train. The Susquehanna flowing through my veins. Allegheny memories blowing through the chestnut trees. If only I could hold them in my hand. Take me back to those rolling hills again. Now my only friend is my computer. We're trading stocks all day inside four walls. But I would trade this life and fancy suit for a worn and grass-stained pair of overalls. Because my Pennsylvania heart beats like a coal train. The Susquehanna flowing through my veins. Allegheny memories blowing through the chestnut trees. If only I could hold them in my hand. Take me back to those rolling hills again. We all eat the fruit of our own labor. In many ways it winds up on our plates. But I've learned money does not have the kind of flavor could match the sweet corn of my younger days. Because my Pennsylvania heart beats like a coal train. The Susquehanna flowing through my veins. Allegheny memories blowing through the chestnut trees. If only I could hold them in my hand. Take me back to those rolling hills again. Yes, my Pennsylvania heart beats like a coal train. The Susquehanna flowing through my veins. Allegheny memories blowing through the chestnut trees. I know that I can hold them in my hand. I'm going back to those rolling hills again. Thank you.
That was great. So that's a really pretty area. I remember I once went down there. I ended up going through Jim Thorpe, which is a little town in the mountains there. Mm-hmm. Where did you live?
Jim Thorpe was actually renamed. The original name was Ma Chunk. That's an Indian name, Native American name.
Oh, yeah?
And Jim Thorpe was Native American Olympian. Very famous, and so they renamed that town Jim Thorpe. I was born in Scranton, and I spent through second grade there. And as a third grader, we moved into Newton, Pennsylvania. Population then probably about 400 or so. I guess halfway between Scranton and Binghamton. And that's where I really grew up, went through to high school, and kind of my formative years back then. That's when I actually met a bunch of old timers. And, when you ask where I'm from, I was thinking, musically where I'm from is really from the old school folkies. And if it's okay with you, let me do a song that I learned from one of those old folkies.
Okay.
So this is the kind of song that we would sing, around the fireplace back in the old days, and it's far from a hit, but in maybe in the 1700s, it was probably a hit.
Okay.
It's a story about an old man and an old woman who lived on a farm. Both of them worked very hard, but he thought that he worked harder than she did. And they argued back and forth about who did more work. And they decided that in order to answer that question, they would swap jobs for the day. And that's where this song came from. There was an old man who lived in the wood, you can plainly see. He said he can do more work in a day than his wife can do in 3. Well, if this be so, the old woman said, this you must allow, that you must do my work for a day while I go drive the plow. But you must milk the tiny cow for fear she should go dry, and you must feed the little pigs that are within the sty, and you must watch the bracken hen for fear she lay astray. And don't forget the reel of yarn that I spun yesterday. So the old woman took the shaft in her hand, she went to drive the plow, and the old man took the pail in his hand, and he went to milk the cow. But Tiny hinched, Tiny flinched, Tiny cocked her nose. Tiny gave the old man such a kick, the blood ran down to his toes. It's, hey, my good cow, oh, my good cow, now, my good cow, stand still. If ever I milk this cow again, it will be against my will. And when he milked the tiny cow for fear she should go dry, then he fed the little pigs that are within the sty. Then he watched the bracket hen for fear she lay astray, but he forgot the reel of yarn that his wife spun yesterday. He swore by all the leaves on the trees, all the stars in heaven, his wife could do more work in a day than he can do in 11.
So I just wanted to let you know Tom Ellen Sturgis is out there listening and saying she misses the open mic days when she could hear your voice. So
yeah, Ellen was a great supporter of local folkies.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad she's listening tonight. And I did want to mention that she mentioned the Amazing Things. You know, she misses the Amazing Things days, and I just think it's great that the Burren now is hosting the open mic and
on Tuesdays, not every Tuesday.
It's the first Tuesday of the month, isn't
it? Second Tuesday, I think, but you'll have to get on the Burren website to check that out.
Yeah. So now you learned from the old folkies, you said.
Yeah.
So were there specific ones that you wanted to talk about?
Well, of course, there's Pete Seeger. I mean,
right.
I really have been inspired by Pete my entire life. His career spanned my life. I mean, when as young as I can remember Pete Seeger. And so when he died a couple of years ago, it was like a great big hole, and I feel like I have to kind of carry on. That particular song that I just sang, I learned from Bill Banyan. Bill was the musicologist at Old Sturbridge Village. Mm-hmm. And Bill used to take his guitar under the maple tree and sing for 4 or 5 hours. He'd sing the old colonial songs. Mm-hmm. And some of his songs had 30, 40 verses, and they would go on for 20 minutes. He was just an amazing treasure trove of the old songs. And and then I became inspired by Bob Dylan and Joan Baez and that whole crew. Peter, Paul, and Mary were very exciting. And
right.
But I was thinking about those old timers and about this podcast, and I thought I'd like to do things I don't normally do. So let me put this guitar down and bring up my banjo. I wrote this kind of what Sam Hinton would call a confabule. Sam Hinton was another old folkie that I absolutely loved.
Okay.
You should look him up on YouTube. He's the only guy I ever knew that could whistle and hum Vera Jacques in rounds at the same time.
That's amazing.
That is an amazing talent. Anyway, I was thinking about those old timers, and so this is kind of a little story song. I wished I was an apple hanging on a tree. Every time I Cindy passed, she'd take a bite of me. Every day he'd work on his farm and get home after a long day, and he'd take his banjo out on the porch and sing all the old songs. And most of those evenings I'd be right there at his feet, hanging on every word and every note. Sometimes it was hard to get rid of me, and he would do it by singing this way. He'd sing, "It's time to take my banjo and put it on the shelf. If you want to hear any more, you'll have to play it yourself." He always had a great big smile on his face, a tooth in every other space, a grand hello, an old banjo in the corner on a stand. It didn't take that much to coax a song from the old goat. I love that music, and I love that man. Well, you ought to see my Cindy, she lives away down south. She's so sweet the honeybees swarm around her mouth. Last time I saw him, he leaned his hoe against the barn, reached out to take my arm, and in his blistered grasp I could read the past and all the calluses on his hands. He lived in a world of earth and rust, and his clothes filled with dust, and that dust spilled out in the music of the man. Now Cindy got religion, it happened once before, but when she hears my banjo, she's the first one on the floor. That banjo, it had a broken string. I think it had been that way since spring. Still it had a tone like a polished stone, smoothed by 1,000 hands. It had a high and lonesome sound, but it was firmly rooted in the ground and woven through the music of that man. When I die, as surely everybody will, the ringing of my banjo will echo through these hills. It's old-fashioned, they all say. How come you play that way? Don't you know they turn that page on the Nashville stage? But they don't understand. This is more than history. I feel it's up to me to carry on the music of that man. Time to take his banjo and pull it down from the shelf. He can't play it anymore, so I'll have to play it myself. Thank you.
I like that sound. That's a nice sounding banjo.
Yeah, let me tell you about that banjo. My good friend Hank Mikesell from Connecticut, his father lived in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. If you're a folkie about old instruments, the town of Nazareth is very well known as the place where Martin Guitar Factory was. And my friend Hank's grandfather, back around 1920, bought a Vega tubaphone mandolin banjo and was in a mandolin orchestra with the founder of the Martin Guitar Factory. Mm-hmm. Well, about 2 years ago, Hank was planning to move, and he was saying, yeah, I've got to get rid of all kinds of stuff, and you know anybody who wants a mandolin banjo? And when I saw that, I thought, oh, that's really wonderful. But frankly, Hank, I hate mandolin banjos. They sound terrible, and the neck is so small, my arthritis kicks up when I try to play them. But if you'll sell that to me, I know a master banjo maker who will make a 5-string banjo neck for it, and I would love to carry on that banjo's legacy. So now I have this beautiful 5-string banjo neck made by Carl Arcan from Quebec, and this 1920 Vega tubaphone banjo pot, the bottom of it, which is now, this year, starting its 2nd century.
Wow, that's pretty old.
Yep.
And still works.
It works beautifully.
Yeah. Well, I guess if Stradivarius can do it, why not banjo makers?
Indeed.
So, when you grew up, you said in Scranton, and you went to high school and graduated there, or?
Yeah, graduated from high school. Then I came up to Cambridge to go to college, and this was 1967. So it was just, not quite at the beginning of the folk scare, as they call it,
right,
or the folk quake. but it still was pretty shaky. And I just loved, the old Club 47, Club Passim, and all the old folkies. Fell in love with Tom Rush back then, and those were the days when if somebody asked you want to come to a party on Friday, what that meant was bring your guitar, and so everybody would sit around and just play. It was wonderful.
Mm-hmm. And well, people are doing that now more with the house concerts.
It is. It's growing.
Yeah, which is good. I think it's a good thing. We need to get back to that soon. But you went to college for what did you study?
I went to MIT. I became a mechanical engineer. In that first song I talked about being a stockbroker in New York City.
Right. Well,
that literally wasn't true. I became an engineer, and I did have a computer back in those days. Instead of my laptop, that computer filled a room about as big as this hearing room, and I felt rather isolated and something I didn't want to do. So very shortly, like within a year after my first year of being an engineer, I moved back into Cambridge and became a school teacher. Mm-hmm. And I loved teaching. So I spent most of my teaching career at one school in Brookline, and I taught math and science. And of course, I would take my banjo and my guitar into the kindergarten, and that was a great joy. And I still do that.
So I noticed from your bio you were an educational technologist.
Yes.
Which actually we have in common, because that was my degree.
Oh, really?
Instructional design and educational technology. Which I think is interesting today because with the coronavirus, all the schools are now forced to do online learning.
Mm-hmm. Right. Well, you can never, as an educational technologist, and I loved building systems that people could use, remote or otherwise, and having technology to help teaching. But I will be the very first to acknowledge that nothing can take the place of a live teacher in a live classroom, face-to-face with students. And but the educational technologists are definitely on the front line right now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it's it's important to know how to do that. But you're right. I agree with you. I think it would be a mistake to just say, "Oh, well, then we don't need to have teachers anymore on face to face." I think that's completely wrong.
So where did you wind up doing educational technology, Aaron?
I was at Harvard for technology and education degree. It was called TIE back then, and then I went to Virginia Tech for instructional design. Mm-hmm. So, and then I was doing that for a little while, doing courses. I mean, while I was at Virginia Tech, I did that, and after. So,
I taught math and science for 10 years after college, and it was wonderful. But then 1980 happened, and the personal computer, and I started doing some educational technology programming in the basement, and a couple of programs kind of hit it, and so I left the classroom, and I was a seller of educational technology programs for a while.
Were you working with Seymour Papert back then?
Oh, of course. I not directly with Seymour Papert, but Seymour Papert was a great inspiration, and one of my very first software titles was I don't think he's listening, a direct ripoff of his Turtle Graphics.
Yeah.
I was very inspired by Seymour. So you must have known him from Harvard then.
Well, I didn't know him. I knew his writing. I mean, he was at MIT, so he was over at the Media Lab. We didn't go over there much. Mm-hmm. Harvard had a different program then we didn't go between. But Mitch Resnick was a name of somebody who was really popular then. Yeah. He was using Logo, and he was looking at systems for traffic, actually, which was interesting. I think he wrote a book called Turtles, Termites, and Traffic Jams. So
Mitch was a parent at the school where I taught.
Oh, was he?
And
Right.
and then after I did that for a while, the business got really crazy, and I decided I didn't want to mortgage my house to stay in business because it was too risky. And I taught at various software companies in the Boston area, and my children were in the school where I used to teach, and I got on a parent committee to discuss technology and fell in love with basically what I said, here's what you should do, and you should hire me back to do it. So
Right.
as an educational technologist, that's really where I kind of started to flower. And so for the last 25 years of my career, it was as director of technology for the school.
Yeah, and nowadays teachers are much more willing to do that stuff. I remember getting people onto technology, teachers, was sometimes very difficult when it started out. But now I just offered to help out with what's going on now, and my son's teacher said, well, we're already all set. So I think they're all set with that, and really there's a system in place, and sounds like you were on the cutting edge of that right at the beginning.
Yeah, I have to say there was a lot of resistance, but if you take your banjo into a faculty room, that's a great way to get them started on computers.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
Kind of sort of loosen it up a little bit. You just kind of, before you know it, they didn't realize they were using a word processor.
I wish I could remember it, but I wrote an HTML song for teachers that I was trying to teach them basic HTML language.
That's got to come out.
Yeah, I got to see if I can find that one. But yeah, that's it's important work, and it must have been fun when you had your software company for a bit.
It was fun and very exciting. Very exciting.
What were you using? What computers?
Well, it was just I was just a single person in his basement programming to sell software to other teachers, and so it was a niche that the large companies were not interested in. And so I just used basic programming to write a program. It wound up on a cassette of all things.
Right. I remember.
That I would sell I'd sell this cassette for $60 or $70 to a school, and
it would take a half hour to load.
And it would take half an hour to load, but it was heady days back then, and that's what people did because it was very exciting and new.
Yeah. Well, so I wonder, do you have any songs inspired by technology?
Songs inspired by technology. Let me look at my list here.
If you don't, you can pick a different one.
I have a list of some things that I did.
Okay.
Well, let me think about that one.
Okay.
But I will, because you brought up though remote learning. Let's sort of bring the topic around to the current events. We're taping this on March 16th, shortly after a national emergency and a state of emergency in Massachusetts has been declared. And we're all talking about social distancing, which is a phrase that I didn't even know existed a couple of weeks ago.
Right.
And the proper behavior for doing that. I will point out that you and I are about 5 feet apart right now.
Right.
So we're risking it. It should be 6 feet apart.
I'll back up.
So I was thinking what kinds of songs that might fit the coronavirus topic. I have a couple. The first one is a little lighthearted. It's not directly about coronavirus, but it is about the social distancing aspect a little bit. It's a true story about a song circle that I was invited to a while back. I work hard every time I write a song. My goal is for the world to sing along, to promote the common good, peace and brotherhood. I think every song should try to right the wrong, don't you? So I got an invitation from this place. Please write a song that we can all embrace. Sing it on Songwriters Day at Vanilla Bean Cafe. And by the way, it must contain this phrase: lick my face. Read the message twice. Lick my face? I guess that's the price. Before I write a song to heal the human race, I have to write this song called Lick My Face. What were they thinking? A dozen half-wrote songs were in my head as I thought about just what that message said. I had to use that wretched phrase. I pondered it for days. As the show approached, my heart was filled with dread. I know I'll take a song and pick a phrase and just replace. Perhaps it won't appear so out of place. Like this: it's the hammer of justice, it's the bell of freedom, it's a song about love, so lick my face. No. Lick my face. I read the message twice. Lick my face. I guess that's the price. Before I write a song to heal the human race, I have to write this song called Lick My Face. What would you do? They can't make me write that song. It's abuse. I'm well within my rights to refuse. In the course of human events, this truth is evident. Each songwriter has the right to choose a subject that is worthy and in good taste, like those that make the world a better place. That's what I'm choosing now. I can show you how. I will do it with humility and grace. Lick my face. Go write your own damn song. Lick my face. We could sing along. Just one thing to say before I leave this place. Go write your own damn song. Lick my face. Yeah, lick my face. Write your own damn song. Lick my face. We could sing along. There's just one thing to say before I leave this place. Go write your own damn song. Lick my face. The answer, my friends, is blowing in this place. Write your own damn song. Lick my face.
So I like that song. I've heard that before. That's a fun one.
It's funny that that's a song that it was just supposed to be just a rip-off that I would just, not a rip-off, but a one-off that I did the night of the song circle, and that was going to be it, and just leave it there. But it's become one of my more requested songs.
It's funny. That's good. That's certainly something we don't want to do with coronavirus floating around, no. Licking each other's face. But yeah, that's cute. So you had another one you said?
Yeah. So I don't know about you, but I've been sort of in and out of panic over the last, couple of weeks, but especially the last few days. And I find places where there's hope, but then, then the kind of the fear comes on. Might be at 3 a.m, and it's a little hard to go back to sleep. And I stumbled on I have this kind of love-hate relationship with Facebook, but I stumbled on a couple of live Facebook live sessions with a few musicians who sounded like they were in exactly the same place I am emotionally, and it was really uplifting to hear them talk about it and to hear them sing about it. And so I thought I would break out this song, which I don't do. It's not a song that I do for some reason. I mean, it's a very nice song. It's just not one that I do. But it seems appropriate now for this situation.
Mm-hmm.
You're not alone. Look through your tears. I am standing right beside you. We'll lean into your fears against the tide of the unknown. I am here right by your side. You're not alone. How can you fight an enemy that you can't even see? It's a struggle every day to find the key. And when your hope is sinking like a stone, you're not alone. You're not alone. Look through your tears. I am standing right beside you. I will lean into your fears against the tide of the unknown. I am here right by your side. You're not alone. We know that human spirit will overcome despair. But in darkness when you think that no one is there, and doubt creeps in to cut you to the bone, you're not alone. You're not alone. Look through your tears. I am standing right beside you. I will lean into your fears against the tide of the unknown. I am here right by your side. You're not alone. When this storm is over, you've crossed that great divide. Your footsteps take you down the other side. You will not take that journey on your own. You're not alone. You're not alone. Look through your tears. I am standing right beside you. I will lean into your fears against the tide am here right by your side. You're not alone. You're not alone.
That was great. So we'll talk more in a few minutes. I have to actually come in here and do my little spiel. So I did want to mention that everybody should check out our website, hearingroom.net. And what we are looking for right now is to keep going as soon as this is all over. But money is often an issue when we have absolutely nothing coming in. We are looking for members, and what the membership does is it allows us to pay our rent and our bills. So the way we stay open is through memberships, and we've been doing pretty well with a lot of people joining recently, but we need more. We need to get 200 and keep 200 members all the time in order to stay afloat. So if you can do it, it's $100 a year to be a member of the Hearing Room, and what that gets you is it gets you $5 off all events, and some events are only $5 for a suggested donation. And we also are looking for people to help out in addition to that. So if you're interested in helping by being a door person or something like that, you can let us know. And we're looking at what we're going to do. We'll announce more this week. We're having a meeting of the board tomorrow, so keep an eye out on hearingroom.net to find out more. The membership will also get you a membership card and a t-shirt, so that's always good too. And so that's about it for the Hearing Room membership, but I stress that it's important, and you should take a look at the website to find out more. Click on membership. There's also a notice there about COVID-19 and the virus, and when we'll put more information on the website as well. And we also want to thank the Greenville Junction Shoppy, Junction, so it's Greenville Junction, Shoppe. And if you want to order anything online, they are on Facebook Marketplace, and it's available to you if you need it. There's lots of great stuff. There are all kinds of household appliances and furniture, and it's all cleaned up for you, and it's cheaper than normal because they are somewhat gently used. So it's an upcycling shop. They take stuff that was gently used and resell it to you. So check that out, and also check out their estate and garage cleanout services if you want to take advantage of that. And then we are back here with Tom Smith, who has been doing some great stuff so far. So, Tom, what got you into music? We haven't really gone into... you said you focused on the older people. Were there people in your family that were playing that inspired you, things like that?
My mother and my father didn't really model making music, although my father's family, he had 6 sisters. Whoa. Mm-hmm. 6 sisters, and his mother were singing all the time in the living room. But my father himself would, he would sing along, but wasn't a great model that way. But my Aunt Carrie, one of his sisters, brought me into a ukulele. She gave me, when I was 5, a plastic ukulele, an Arthur Godfrey model. Mm-hmm. Arthur Godfrey was an early TV star, and he would play the ukulele on TV. And this particular one had a box on the neck that had buttons, kind of like an auto harp buttons, where you'd press the buttons and it would do the different chords, and they were labeled C, G, F, and you would just press the buttons. And as a 5-year-old kid, I could press the button and strum along and sing and play with my 6 aunts.
Nice.
In the living room. And that really got me cooking. And then I discovered that my dad did play a guitar, and he had a guitar under his bed. And so I borrowed that and learned how to play, inspired by, I heard Bob Dylan, and I thought, I could do that.
Right.
Of course, I didn't realize what it takes to write a great song like Bob Dylan back then, but it sounded so simple.
Did you see him at Club 47?
No, I didn't. As a matter of fact, one of my great regrets is I've never seen Bob Dylan live.
Oh, wow.
Ever. My wife did. My wife saw him in the early 60s when he was on a co-bill with Joan Baez in Connecticut. So I learned how to play very simply in high school, but there were no outlets. Like I mentioned, I was kind of isolated, and I worked on the farm. It wasn't our farm. We rented the farmhouse, and I worked for the neighbor farmer. There was a lot of space. There was a lot of corn and cattle between us and the next person. But I would sneak up to my room after hours. I had a little shortwave radio that would get distant AM radio stations too, and listen to WOWO in Wheeling, West Virginia, and they had the Bluegrass Night at 11 o'clock at night on Saturdays. And I fell in love with that music. I didn't have an idea how it was played, but I fell in love with it. So when I went to Cambridge as a college student, I wound up in a living group where there were guitar players and banjo players and fiddlers, and my head exploded. My grades hit the toilet. But my education really was centered around the community of music. And so I wound up in a string band back then, the Harvest Home String Band. Played mandolin, harmonica, and guitar. And that was fun. And that kind of got me going. Wound up in the Folk Song Society of Greater Boston, which I'm still a member. Yeah. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be on the staff of their fall getaway weekend this fall.
Nice.
As along with Bob Zentz, teaching old folk songs and some new ones. And then as I started teaching, and I thought, I could do this. I could do this sort of professionally. And my skills were with children. And so I learned how to play the banjo and learned a bunch of Pete Seeger's repertoire, and I sang in schools. I would hire myself out to libraries and schools and places like that. And I got to a point where I think like around 20% of my income for the year was music.
Wow.
And I thought, so I was teaching, and then on holidays and summers, I would go out and just play music. And that was as a solo gig, doing sometimes with my friend Mickey Levine, who would accompany me. And it got a little overwhelming, where I realized that I would forget what songs I was singing. Did I already sing this song? And I would, on the way into a gig, I would kind of have a stomach ache, and I began to realize it was all emotional, that the act of making a business out of it was taking the love. So I took a hiatus, and for 10 years or more, basically I just put my guitar away in the closet. I would sing in the living room once in a while, but that was it. Once in a while I would sing with the kids at the school, but it was very rare. I might not touch my guitar for 6 months at a time. And then the thing that turned, it was sort of a magical thing that happened. My daughter, my youngest daughter, Mally, who is absolutely wonderful songwriter and singer herself, currently living in Scotland. And she wanted to learn how to play guitar. And I said, sure, I'll show you some chords. And that was just about the time she went away to school in D.C. at George Washington. And she would say, "Oh, Dad, I want to learn this song by, pick your favorite, by so-and-so. But I don't know how to do the chords." And so I'd make a little movie out of it, with a close-up on my left hand. And I would put it up on my little website, and I would post a private link to her, and I'd say, "Here, this is how you do it." And she started learning that way. This is before YouTube. And after a while, she's starting getting to be pretty good. And I said, "Mally, you got to get out of your dorm. Go to an open mic or something." And she said, "Well, I don't know." I said, "Yeah, really, go to an open mic." She said, "Well, Dad, I'll go to an open mic if you'll go to an open mic."
Okay.
And so I looked up some friends, and I found Ellen Schmidt had an open mic that following Tuesday, I think, in Concord at the Colonial Inn. I said, "Well, I can go on Tuesday. My friend Ellen, she's safe." And she said, "Well, there's an open mic here at the university on Tuesday." So, okay, we'll both go on Tuesday. So we both went on Tuesday, called each other up the next day and compared notes, and we both had a great experience. And that just lit the fire under me. And since then, I've been not only going to open mics, but writing songs. You
didn't write much before that?
No, I wrote, but I guess I would call them toy songs. I would write I'd write a song that sort of was a song, and then I might write a song for somebody's birthday. That was it. I never would ever sing them. There were so many great old folk songs and great songwriters that I saw no need to, and every time I tried to, it sounded like drivel. And so about 15 years or so ago, the thing that broke the ice for songwriting for me was our neighbor, a young man, had come back from Iraq, and he had PTSD. And his older brother was working at the local pizza shop, and we ordered a pizza, and just so happened his older brother had brought us the pizza. I said, "Hey, how's it going? How's your brother? How's everything going?" He said, "Well, not so well." "Why? What happened?" And he had told me this story about how his younger brother was in the local pub, and I mentioned he had PTSD, severe case of PTSD. And his best friend had snuck up behind him and grabbed him on the shoulder, just to, as friends will do, chums, grabbed him on the shoulder. Well, this caused his PTSD to kick in. He whipped around and hit him so hard that he killed his best friend and wound up in jail. And I heard this story from this neighbor, young man, and it just it stuck with me, and it was so heartbreaking that I wrote what's called the talking blues, the talking PTSD blues. And it's like talking blues, like in the style of Woody Guthrie and Bob Dylan. And I put it up on the web, and it quickly got 50,000 hits, and people writing me from all over the country about how it told the story of their PTSD, and it really touched my heart, and I couldn't stop writing songs after that.
And so did you ever play with your daughter as well?
Oh yeah. I say she humors me, but she really does, I think, genuinely enjoy singing with me. I did accompany her several times on mandolin and other things, but she has a different way of writing and singing than my old folk, my Woody Guthrie style fits.
Right.
So usually I don't perform with her anymore. She has her own band and her own, folks that do a much better job than I do. But when I go off and do a gig, if she's around, I'll ask her if she'll join me, and she comes up and sings harmony. In fact, she does harmony on 4 songs on my new album.
Oh, great. Which we should talk about. So you got a new album out called Planting in a Drought.
Yeah.
Tell us about the title.
Well, the album is songs of struggle, protest, and encouragement. So I have probably, let's see, my previous album was way back in 2011, and since then I've been writing a song a month, and some of them are good enough to put on an album, and I have probably 40 or 45 songs that I would like to record on an album. And I thought, well, for this, so I have several right away that I want to do. And about 6 months ago, I decided I better get off my butt. And with the election coming up, I thought I'll take some topical songs and put them on one album, because I don't know what I'm going to do with these topical songs otherwise. So I have 12 original topical songs on this album. Some of them are straight-up protest songs, but most of them are just basically empathetic songs of struggle and encouragement. And the title song, Planting in a Drought, I named the album that because it's literally a song I wrote in response to thinking about climate change.
Mm-hmm.
But it's actually a metaphor about trying to do good, trying to make the world a better place in an environment where there are powerful forces working against it. And so this planting in a drought is really a metaphor for that. And the collection of songs kind of fits in that, trying to make the world a better place in a time and place and environment where there are powerful forces that work against it.
Yeah. And so the whole album is sort of that thread?
Yeah. I mean, well, it's like, there are some of these songs you would listen to and you'd say, oh, that's a straight-up protest song about income inequality or about war. And then other times there are more empathetic songs about DACA and immigration, and then, for example, or a song about Martin Luther King, Nelson Mandela, and then there are several songs that are songs of encouragement, songs that just kind of speak to the politics only kind of in a off the kilter kind of way, not directly, but when you listen to it, you know what it's about.
Right.
Maybe I could do a couple from the album.
Sure. You want to do one now?
So there's well, I'll start with the title song.
Okay. And where is this available? We should mention.
Well, it's not released until the 27th officially. As a matter of fact, Aaron, you are the very first person I've given this album to, because it arrived on my doorstep about 3 hours ago. And if you go to my website, there's a place where you could pre-order it, and shortly, like starting tomorrow, I'm going to start distributing them to people who have pre-ordered it,
mm-hmm.
and to the radio DJs around the country, especially in purple states.
Yeah.
And then on the 27th, it'll be released on all digital platforms and will be available through my website store.
Okay.
So this is Planting in the Drought. See if I can. So I'll do two songs. They're both essentially climate change songs. Okay?
Okay.
But without specifically saying this is a climate change song.
Sounds good.
Another day breaks, another hope wakes, another sun bakes my back from dawn till dusk. Why do I keep on planting the same song? They say it's all wrong. My seed will turn to dust, but for me, everything I know is right here in these long, straight rows. That's why I'm planting in a drought. I'm planting in a drought. Now it all seems like a bad dream. These fields were once green and filled with promise for my son, but he cannot do what I was born to. Only a damned fool would follow me into the sun. But sometimes I see it in his eyes. He wants to give it one more try, and that's why I'm planting in a drought. I'm planting in a drought. They're explaining why it's not raining. All of the experts say things, but I don't understand. I know that hard work can make my heart hurt, but then I feel this soft earth and these tools in my hands. For me, everything I know is right here in these long, straight rows. That's why I'm planting in a drought. Planting in a drought. Another day breaks, another hope wakes.
It's nice.
Thank you.
And why don't you play another one?
Okay, this one is also written about the time of the Paris Summit, the climate summit. But as I said, you probably wouldn't say, "Oh, that's a song about climate change."
Well, Aaron Sullivan says beautiful song.
Oh, thank you. It's so nice to have my songwriter friends out there listening. Hello, friends.
And Beverly Granoff is out there too.
Awesome.
And she's listening.
Thank you, Beverly. Beverly's a contributor to my crowdfunding for this album. Thank you, Beverly.
Oh, great.
As is Aaron and a lot of great friends. Thank you. It's very encouraging. And music helps. Music heals. So this is a song that I wrote when I was needing encouragement. And at about the time of the Paris Climate Summit, I was feeling a certain amount of encouragement. And I was thinking about the things that encouraged me. And so in the first verse, you'll hear references to my great inspiration, Pete Seeger. And in the second verse, I look to nature that I find inspiring. And in the third verse, I take it home. So this one is also on the album. Let's see, how does it start? Oh, yeah. An old man on a stage, his age belies the power of his song. With a voice that may be shaky, he clearly sings of making right from wrong. Because he's old, he is told it's time to bring your singing to an end. He replies, as long as I can play my banjo, I will do the best I can. I'll do the best I can. I won't listen to the noise. I wake up and take a stand, put my heart to my voice. Stones are smoothed by grains of sand, so even though I'm just one man, I do the best I can. That Phoebe in the rafters of my front porch does not stop to take a rest. When she hears that music flowing from her feathered offspring filling up her nest. To and fro, bugs in tow, on a task that never seems to end. And I ask her how she does it, and she tells me, I do the best I can. I just do the best I can. I don't listen to the noise. I don't claim to understand. I don't have a choice, but I'll sing in the end. This is where it all began. That's why I do the best I can. Sometimes I count myself among the many who are ready to give up. How about you? Perhaps we've started way too late. The distance is too late to make it up. But step by step, we can get farther from the start than from the end. For the sake of all our children and their children, I'll do the best I can. I will do the best I can. I won't listen to the noise. I'll wake up and take a stand, put my heart to my voice. I will get there in the end. I'll sing it once again. I will do the best I can. Just do the best you can. Don't listen to the noise. Wake up, take a stand, put your heart to your voice. We will get there in the end. Every woman, child, and man, just do the best you can. We will get there in the end, if together, hand in hand, we do the best we can. Thank you.
Great. So this album is your second, or you said you had like a bunch before?
I have, let's see, 1, 2, 3. This is my fifth album. But the first three are really in the, very hard to get. You can get my very first album, which is this album I did for kids, on my website, which you can download for free. I recorded that in 1979, and it's when I listen to it, I'm embarrassed at what I sound like, but at the encouragement of some some people who happen to like it, I put it on my website for free, and I don't advertise it, so don't tell this to anybody.
You just told them.
Oh, damn.
I wonder.
Then I have another album that I did after that, which is also for kids, recorded in 1980 for the Gentle Wind record label. And Gentle Wind is still in existence. They have a lot of award-winning recordings for children, a lot of Parents' Choice Awards albums. And you can get that from... I can't sell that because they own the rights to sell that, but you can get a link to that from my store also. And then there was a third album that I did as a small run. It was just a fundraiser for a charity I help with once in a while called Tune Foolery. And it was an album that I did. It was a 24-hour project. I recorded 9 songs in the 24 hours. I recorded 9 songs, edited them, put them on a CD, and hand reproduced 200 CDs and sold them to earn money for this charity, and they all sold out. And it was a recording I did for my granddaughter, who was 2 at the time. So it's also a children's record, and you can get that also on my website. But the albums that I bring on my gigs now are Journey Home, which I did in 2011, all original songs there. And this one, Planting in a Drought, which is just out officially on the 27th. And then the bug bit me, and I don't have a lot of time left, so not to be morbid or anything, but I have like 3 CDs in my head, and I better get cracking. So this summer I'll be doing another recording.
Oh, wow, that's quick. So that's exciting. You got a lot of songs you've been writing, I guess.
Yeah. I have. Maybe I'd like to tell people about my blog, The Kitchen Musician. At TomSmithMusic.com is my website, and I advertise my shows and things. But really the centerpiece of the website is my blog, which I call The Kitchen Musician. And once a month, since 2007, when I started it, once a month I write a new song, and I publish it, even if it's a terrible song, although some of them are pretty good. So the song that I wrote, that usually inspired by things happening in my life or in the world around me, and I just have this blog, and it's been going strong since 2007. So I have a lot of songs in the backlog to record, and listeners can look at all of those songs informally recorded in my kitchen or at a local open mic or wherever I happen to be by just going to the blog. Or I would prefer if you would sign up on my mailing list right there on my website, because I'll send it out to you first, a free song every month.
Wow. That's like they had that Jonathan Colton. Have you heard of him?
Yes.
Yeah, he did the song a day. So he got a lot out of that.
Yeah. Well, I couldn't possibly do that. When I first started this, I thought, I'm going to do a song a week. I was all energized. That was when I had several songs in my back pocket already. But then sanity struck, and I decided a song a month. And I confess, sometimes, I get a cold, or I'm traveling someplace, or work was a little bit hard or whatever, and I missed a few months here and there. And while I was doing this album, I missed 3 months. So I was really concentrating on, or 2 months, concentrating on this album. But I'm back in the saddle now, and I have a couple of songs in my back pocket.
Great. Do you have your newest you want to play for us, but that hasn't been released?
Oh, okay. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to have to look at the words.
Oh, that's fine. Aaron Sullivan was clapping, by the way, at the last virtually. And are you going to be doing any of the online like concerts that people have been doing?
I haven't decided how or what I'm doing. Well, I'm doing this one.
Right, obviously.
I haven't really decided. I have several concerts. Because of my album, I didn't have a bunch of concerts, but I have several important concerts in May for releasing the CD, and I'm guessing they're probably going to be canceled. Maybe not by May, but I emotionally, I'm trying to prepare myself to having those canceled. So as those things are canceled, I'm trying to figure out. I saw that Anne Sandstrom last night released her album virtually.
Right.
And that went beautifully and got a lot of positive response. So I don't know. I haven't decided what I'm going to do there.
Well, I'll help you out if you want to do it.
Thank you, Aaron.
Let me know. So what's this song called?
Okay, so this one, I think I alluded to thinking about my own mortality and how time is changing and your sense of time changes as you get older. And my then 4.5-year-old grandson, I was talking to him about a number of things, and he was very proud of the fact and made me know through no uncertain terms. He said, "Pop, that's what he called me. Mm-hmm. Pop, I'm 4.25 years old," and that struck me. We hear this occasionally from little kids, and I wrote it down on a piece of paper because it just struck me, and I stuck it in a drawer. And after my album was finished, I thought, I want to write a song. What should I write about? And I opened up this drawer of pieces of paper and started picking up. And I saw this thing that says, "Pop, I'm 4.25." And combining that with my own thinking of myself thinking about my own mortality, I wrote this. Let's see if I can do it. I like trying things that are new in an open mic or something, but this is a little scary doing it on the air. Okay. Who's the man in that mirror there? I think I've seen him, but I can't say where. He looks like me, except he has no hair and wrinkles fore and aft. Oh wait, I think I see what's going on. It's not a sprint, I'm in a marathon. My feet are slow and time is racing fast. I'm 69 and a half. 69 and a half. I'm 69 and a half. Sing with me. My feet are slow and time is racing fast. I'm 69 and a half. That's good. I'm lucky I still can turn each page and use the wisdom that I've gained with age to make this world a better place. And using music as my craft, I say this with no uncertainty, but I sense a kind of urgency. It's kind of scary when I do the math. I'm 69 and a half, yeah. 69 and a half. I'm 69 and a half. It's kind of scary when I do the math. I'm 69 and a half. But I take each day step by step and flex my muscles while they still can flex. I'll give to the struggle everything I have. Let's see. Oh, no, sorry. Reset. It's nice to know that I'm not alone. Good things are growing from the seeds we've sown. The time will come to bring this harvest home, though I may not get there myself. But I take each day step by step and flex my muscles while they still can flex. I'll give to struggle everything I have. A badass 69 and a half. Yeah. 69 and a half. 69 and a half. Yeah. 69 and a half. 69 and a half. Give to the struggle everything I have. A badass 69 and a half. Yeah. 69 and a half. 69 I'm 69 and a half.
69 and a half.
Broadcasted proudly as I telegraph that I'm 69 and a half.
I like that. It's a good one.
Thank you.
So we're getting toward the end of the show. And I wanted to ask you my usual ending question, which is, what advice do you give to other people on their journey to becoming performing singer-songwriters or just performers and getting out locally and doing this either for money or for free, whatever they're doing? What kind of advice do you give?
Well, there are a lot of different motives and motivations for people wanting to do this. But I think the common strain among motives is community. That you think about your music as a path through your community. I know the Hearing Room does that well here. You're building a community. People come back here again and again and again. You have open mics and you have formal performances, and they kind of cross-pollinate. Sometimes the open micers are in your formal performances.
Right.
So here's one existence proof. You want to do this more often, you come to a Hearing Room open mic. And after a while, you develop maybe some repertoire and some confidence, and you wind up hosting a show on a Saturday or a Sunday or a Friday and inviting all of your relatives. And they come, and, of course, they will applaud.
One hopes.
Yeah. So community, I think, is really important. And the open mics, or rather the venues, to me, that I look back... let's step back. I have heard from a lot of friends who operate venues who've kind of bemoaning the fact that, there are so many options people have. My audience is dwindling, and I can't seem to bring people into the door. Well, my response to that is think more about the community that you're building. Because as I go to different places, like, I have strong connections with Southern New Hampshire, and the Southern New Hampshire folk music community is thriving. And one reason is when you go into this particular venue, you find out that, oh my goodness, 10 people brought casseroles, and it's people are here an hour early talking to each other and sharing stories and getting to know each other and eating over these casseroles or cakes and pies. And there are other venues that have other ways of doing community. So think about how your music can fit into a community and develop that community. Maybe it's not a community of professional venues. Maybe it's just a community of 2 or 3 friends who are also in the same place you are. I'm just looking to share my songs. And some of my favorite meetups are among friends, fellow songwriters. We meet generally once, sometimes twice a month. I'm meeting in groups of songwriters where I'll bring this song, 69 and a half, for example. I brought that to one last month. And people responded with positive criticism, about, oh, gee, have you thought about this? How about that? And it was out of respect for each other. You're willing to listen and offer and hear criticism from others. And that's been a great community, and it's been a great builder of my own confidence for my own songs, because I know if I bring a song to my friends and I hear the sort of the same kind of thing from them that I overlooked, I said, I better pay attention to this. So build a community is what I say.
Yeah, I think that's good advice. I think that's what we're trying to do at the Hearing Room. And just, if you can't find a community, building one is a good way to get started, too. One of the ways I started was I went to an open mic, and the host kind of disappeared, and I jumped in and just being a host of an open mic means you get to know people, and that's community too. So that's really what music is all about, as far as I'm concerned. Sing-alongs and all the rest. So you got another song to close out the show?
Well, since we talked about open mics and things, let me do this one, which I'm going to have to make sure I look at the words.
Okay.
Because I debuted this one right here at the Hearing Room. And it also speaks about an open mic. It speaks about a songwriter and why she writes. This was a pleasure, Aaron. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It was a lot of fun.
Her old Gibson has a third shift heart with strings that rip her fingertips. Life taught her to grip hard, but she turned my head with a turn of phrase in that beer joint from the open stage. An antidote for lonely days, songs played on a scarred guitar. She can't control where they come from. I just know when they are sung, they hold me in a quiet state of grace. Sometimes with the kids asleep, darkness hides the tears she cries. Her words fall in a heap, and they lay there spent upon the floor. Currency in payment for a song that calls out from her core, as bitter as it's sweet. She can't control where they come from. I just know when they are sung, they hold me in a quiet state of grace. Struggles to keep it all in tune. Guitar strings and wedding rings break when stretched too thin. But with two mouths that she has to feed, she replants when the flood recedes. Every hardship is a seed she grows into a song. She can't control where they come from. I just know when they are sung, they hold me in a quiet state of grace. She can't control where they come from. I just know when they are sung, they hold me in a quiet state of grace.
Very nice. So thank you again for coming, Tom.
It's my pleasure, Aaron.
And I guess people can go to your website, which is tomsmithmusic.com.
Yes.
And they can purchase your CD and read the blog of the Kitchen Musician and all that other good stuff. And we want to thank you for coming, and we wanted to remind everybody that the Hearing Room is available online at hearingroom.net, so you can find out all about our announcements, events, and how to become a member of the Hearing Room. And we want to thank the Greenville Junction Shoppy, JUNKTIONSHOPPE. Greenville Junction Shop is an upcycling shop, and it's a great place to go to get all kinds of furniture, household appliances, and other stuff. So everybody have a great week. We will have Julia Mark is on the show for Thursday. So that will be up at 7 p.m. on Thursday. Be sure to listen to that one as well. Have a great week.
If you start with a dream and share it with some friends, the idea deepens and grows. The dream takes shape, it has form and substance, a community soon arose. A listening room, a hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express yourself.